Hello and welcome back to our video series on Power BI Basics. Today we're going to be talking about date tables and how they relate to data modeling in Power BI. If you haven't watched any of the other videos in our series, I would recommend doing that. We're currently releasing a video a day to teach you how to learn Power BI, or well, at least the basics. So what are date tables? Well, I don't know if you've ever added data into Power BI, and if you haven't, no worries. But here I have a date in our calendar table. And when I go ahead and I drag this date over into this section right here, you'll see that I get this year, quarter, month, day, and not the actual date. And I actually have to click right here and then switch it off of the date hierarchy and actually show the date instead of the date hierarchy by going right here. So that functionality is being driven by a date table in Power BI. Date tables are created by default for every single date in Power BI, and typically they're just hidden. This can actually take up a lot of space in your data model, and it's probably best practice if you're working with a lot of dates to actually go ahead and build your own custom date table. So what we're going to be reviewing in this video is first how to turn off the auto date table creation functionality, and then finally how to actually create our own custom date table so we can use it, and how to flag that date table as a date table to the Power BI engine. A lot of dates coming in there. So first, let's review how to turn off the Power BI date table. So you're going to go right here into File, and you're going to go into Options and Settings, and you're going to go into Options. And on Global Data Load, you're going to turn off Auto Time Intelligence right here. That will turn off the auto creation of date tables. And if you go into your data load, I believe right here, you can also turn it off here for the specific file that you were working on. So what's the difference between turning it off here versus turning it off up here? Well, here you're turning it off for the current file. Here you're turning it off for all new files that you might create in Microsoft Power BI Desktop. Once you've done that, you will not have automatic date tables created. Why might you not want to have automatic date tables created? They take up a lot of space and they slow down your model. That's why if you are using a report with a lot of dates, it's best practice to create your own date table. So now that I've turned that off, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click OK. And what you're going to see right away is see this calendar right here. It got rid of that automatic date hierarchy. Now I just have a date. So how do I get the month? How do I get the week? How do I get all these other things? Well, I actually need to go and I need to define a date table. So there's a couple different ways to define a date table. So one is that you can actually create it in a SQL server. So like maybe your DBA or someone has created one. Another is you can create it in Power Query, but probably the more common route is that you can actually create it in DAX as a calculated DAX table. So how can you do that? Well, I'm going to go into Model View, and I'm going to go New Table right here. And then the easiest way to do this is to probably use the calendar function. So I'm going to go calendar right here, and calendar gets a start date and an end date. So in this case, I can go ahead and I could say, let's just say I wanted to take it for my sales. I can go min, and I could go date, right, or sales, and then sales date here. And I'm going to obviously have an error there. And then you can go max, and you can go sale date right here. And when I go ahead and I close that, it will create a table with the date columns. And so then what you can do is you can actually add in the columns to calculate like the date attributes that you want. So like let's just say if I go back over here and I'm in my table and I go new column and I go and I call this day, right? And I give it table date right here, and I call this day. So now I've got some attributes, right? I can then go ahead and in the table tools section, I can actually mark it as a date table, or alternatively, I can right click, and let me move my video over so you can see where I am right clicking. I can actually go ahead and I can right click and I can go mark as a date table. So when you mark as a date table, the DAX query engine actually treats it differently. And you can hit save. And there you go. You just created an actual custom date table. So that is pretty much date tables in Power BI. So what is it important for you to take away from this video? Number one, Power BI is creating a hidden date table in your Power BI model for pretty much every single date. This can slow down your model. Number two, you can also create and define custom date tables. If you're going to be using custom date tables, or if you're going to be using or building a report with a lot of dates, you probably should build a custom date table to perfect your data modeling. If you have any questions about this, or if I was a little unclear about anything, feel free to leave a comment. If not, if you're just interested in Power BI, feel free to subscribe. Thanks.